Hey everyone, I'm a bit early today. Sorry about yesterday, but we're out in the bush here in Zimbabwe, out in the Eastern Highlands, kind of near the Mozambique border, pretty far from civilization. And we brought our Starlink with us. There it is over there, that little flat thing pointing at the sky. And the one we had last night belonged to somebody else for some reason, so we couldn't log in. But today we got a new one, and everything seems to be working. So yeah, it's pretty nice out here. Zimbabwe, the hyperinflation capital of Africa. Let's just share the screen. Yeah, things are pretty decent here, economics aside. So yeah, I've got a bunch of charts and a few tweets and things to share today. Just jump right into it. Things look pretty bullish earlier on in the day, still not looking too bad. The main event macro-wise today was CPI, the consumer price index in the US, basically an inflation metric. If it was too hot, that would have been bad news, but it's actually come in showing that inflation is coming down. Things are quite deflationary in the US. It's come in just under expectations, which is kind of ideal. You don't want it too low because that shows recession, which is bad for crypto. But just under is kind of right. And then tomorrow we have retail demand. I forget the name of the metric, but basically a measure of how much shopping retail are doing in the US. If that comes in showing the economy still has demand, but inflation is kind of below where it's thought to be, that would be kind of Goldilocks. That would be ideal. It shows the economy is not in a bad place. There is demand, but rates can be cut as well, because if there's demand in the economy, it's in a good place. You want to be able to satisfy that demand to keep it going. So yeah, so this was just a conversation I had with Hickson earlier on today. We're doing the newsletter together. And it had me a little bit spooked the way that everything was running up into the CPI print. And lo and behold, pretty much as soon as we got that good news, things started to sell off. So my PTSD did me a service there. Yeah, so this is C2M shortly after. He shorted, made some cash. CPI data was bullish. Okay, I'm taking a chunk of profits here. He's talking about this very low time frame short. I still think we're in quite a bullish place on a higher time frame. And then this was just interesting because I've been, I'm very suspicious of politicians on both sides of the aisle in the US and just politicians generally. I mean, I'm coming at you from Zimbabwe, which is a political basket case. Yeah, I don't trust politicians. I don't trust Trump either. They're all opportunists, and they'll say whatever they need to say to get elected. I've been suspicious ever since the ETH ETF was approved, and then immediately after we saw all these coins coming out from behind government couches, massive sells on ETH and on BTC from various places, from the German government, obviously US aligned, US government finding a bunch of coins, Mt. Gox, just stuff coming from everywhere and being thrown at us. So yeah, so the question is Kamala going to win? What are her chances? She's sitting as a favorite right now on places like Polymarket. It's a kind of an interesting situation. And then somebody shared this in Discord today, which is Arthur Hayes' strategy for how he's going to play the election, which makes kind of a lot of sense to me. I don't really trust Arthur when we hold in the same bags because he tends to wreck charts when he's got big allocations. But he writes some good stuff, and this made a lot of sense to me. So he's saying the US election occurs in early November. Yellen will be at peak manipulation in October, so basically peak liquidity. And that's when he's thinking he's going to take quite a lot of profits. Therefore, I shall sell into strength. I will not take my entire portfolio, but I will take profits in more speculative stuff, momentum trades, park the capital into staked Ethereum USD, stable up basically. The crypto market trades up, increasing the odds of a Trump victory. So, yeah, he thinks that in October we're going to pump. That's going to make Trump look good because he's the crypto candidate. Trump's probability of victory peaked right after the assassination attempt and Slow Joe's disastrous debate performance. Kamala is a first-class, and I agree completely with this. Kamala is a first-class political muppet. Yeah, I mean, I think she's not much better than Joe Biden. She's obviously got a few more brain cells left than him. But they're all puppets, in my opinion, especially currently on the Democratic side. They're just putting up a friendly face, basically, although she's not even that popular. She is not an octogenarian vegetable, which is her main trump card, according to Arthur. I kind of agree. Apologies to all the Kamala fans out there. And that's all she needs to defeat Trump, potentially. I don't know. I'm not in the US. So the election is a coin toss, and I would rather watch the chaos from the sidelines, step back into the markets after the US debt ceiling is raised. I expect that to happen sometime January or February. So it's going to sit it out over New Year. Probably makes quite a lot of sense. We'll have to wait and see what happens during the election. But yeah, I don't. As far as Trump being the crypto candidate, he said a lot of the right stuff. I think he's been well prepped by guys like Ryan Selkis. But I don't think he means any of it. He doesn't give a shit. He'll drop us like an old porn star when the time is right. You know, if price dumps, whatever. If crypto looks bad, he's out of here, basically. So it makes sense for liquidity to peak in October into the election. Sell the news in November. Let's see what happens. Just something to be aware of, I guess. I'm not saying I'm going to do this or everybody else should do this, but it's an interesting strategy. Interesting to me. And then this was just on CPI from Nick, who's quite a smart dude. Wrote a book on altcoins last cycle, even 2017 cycle. Normally I would be more cautious going to CPI. We had long positioning decimated last week, so we're still basically in a bounce from that big sell-off last week. CPI is a red herring. The big kahuna is retail sales. Yeah, that makes sense because that's the sign of demand in the economy. That's kind of important. CPI, people are starting to, it's kind of priced in now that inflation is by and large coming down. The question is there demand? Are we in a recession? If we're in a recession, demand will be weak, and we don't want that. So he says if we take out the weekly highs into CPI release, it's likely to be a fade. I haven't actually looked if we took out those highs. Potentially, no, I don't think we did actually. To wipe out some of the longs from earlier this week. Yeah, so that's a wait and see. We'll see how much we dump. I still think we're in a very much of a choppy regime for Bitcoin, and we can look at the Bitcoin chart in a second and talk about that. And then this is just a follow-on from that tweet from London Crypto Club, who are quite clued up. The inflation side of the mandate is done. Fed can get cuts underway. Fear now resides on recession risks. That's exactly right. The knee-jerk on recession risk for equities always lower, although we think short-lived as rates and liquidity matter more. That's exactly right. Rates and liquidity are super important going forward, going into next year. Bitcoin not immune to broader risk, although at this point we'll start to smell the liquidity pump. That's my favorite sentence in this tweet, and I think that's right. You can see global liquidity. We've discussed this in other streams. I've posted ad nauseum about it in the channel. That liquidity is coming back, both from China, PBOC injections. Fed are late to the party, but they're also starting to ramp up liquidity now. And the move index is coming down, which is your other form of liquidity in terms of bond collateral. So things are looking good, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before the magic internet money markets start to sniff that out and behave accordingly. This is Arthur Hayes again. Bad Girl Yellen is full of liquidity, and she is a squirter, as a banger from Arthur. I haven't read this yet, so I'll read this later. Contrary to everyone's opinion, CPI is not the main event. This is just a repeat of what the London Crypto Club was saying. Retail sales is the big kahuna. So yeah, DXY is coming down massively. This is another driver of liquidity, rolling over nicely. This turned out to be a bear flag as suspected. If we get continuation down to the lows, that would be a beautiful scene. That's exactly what we want to see. This is October last year when the Bitcoin bull market kicked off. Pretty much mostly Bitcoin and Solana, but you can see we had this big downtrend on DXY. Not as big as other downtrends. Hopefully we get a more sustained one. If we can get under 100, that'd be a nice place to be. But yeah, good for liquidity as well. So the correction or consolidation we're currently seeing happens over here, and DXY ran up into late April. It's just chopped around, which is what we've had chopped basically. Hopefully that is coming to an end, because this looks pretty ugly for the dollar. Daddy dollar is about to get a hiding, let's hope. And then just the S&P looks good again. This was a reversal. This RSI level did its job once again. This uptrend is intact. This is on the log chart. The 200-day moving average, which is your bull market pivot, is still a fair way away from where we are now. That's more than a 50% retrace from this downtrend. Maybe we correct here. Maybe we get a W bottom, but it's looking decent. Same deal with the NASDAQ. Even our little CPI dump seems to be getting bought back up. It's the daily charts, log trends. Again, we have this beautiful long uptrend here. We tested the 200-day moving average here, which makes sense because we've had some recessionary fears. And in that scenario, the NASDAQ is always going to sell off harder than the S&P. But we've had the successful 200-day retest, which is kind of healthy. Reclaim this high time frame support. Kind of looks good. Okay, and then Bitcoin, as we said earlier, choppy price action, but we've claimed this first hurdle here. We're flipping it into support. These squiggles are playing out. Basically, we're trying to reclaim this 200-day moving average is the main thing that I kind of want to see at the moment. This is your bull bear pivot. We lost it here. It took, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 days to reclaim. We lost it in October, September, August even last year. It took about a month to reclaim, and that's when the bull market for Bitcoin essentially kicked off. So, yeah, I mean, this could take another week, or who knows, but it would be nice to see price compressed between the support level and the 200-day. That's what we've seen so far. This is obviously a huge level. A lot of sell orders up here, so we're going to need for there to be liquidity and some market conviction for us to get back up here and to break out to the upside. Key in that breakout is going to be, for me, this long-short ratio coming down. It looks like it is. Despite the choppy price action, longs are closing, which is good. This looks like it wants to keep coming down. If we move up to the range highs, 70K, 74, and this comes down to 1, that is exactly the setup we need. The same setup we had here with, as price moved up, longs closed, and it gave us the reset we needed for this whole uptrend here. Okay, so we corrected there, but we saw the same setup over here. This came down to 1 right here in October, gave us the reset we needed for this whole uptrend here, all the way up to 49, 50K. So what does that look like on Sol? Sol's not at the same. I mean, it's potential that we could have longs close sufficiently down to where did Sol last pump from? Let's wait for this to process. But yeah, I mean, it's a similar behavior on Solana, similar behavior on ETH. Here you can see longs closing as you move up to the range highs. Nobody thinks it's going higher, and then you get this beautiful long uptrend until the market is offside, and then you sell off. So fingers crossed that's what we see again. Just a quick look at ETH. Yeah, I want to tell good stories about ETH, but this still looks like a potential scenario. Hopefully, it doesn't take this long to play out. But I did see Anson post a very similar chart the other day, which I don't have to hand, but you can go and look on his timeline. Basically saying the same thing with a few more nuances instead of just a squiggle. But to me, this is just a fractal. Here you have this big head and shoulders setup, dumps. Here you have the same thing, big head and shoulders setup, much longer time frame. This is like a year of price action, maybe half a year, like 6 months here. When does it start? Feb to now, 6 months, literally half as long. I don't see this. I mean, unless Bitcoin goes to new highs, which hopefully it will, then maybe this is all off the table. But just looking at ETH in isolation, this is the kind of thing I would suspect this long consolidation. Hope it doesn't happen, but that's what the chart's kind of saying to me. Oh yeah, Solana was looking good earlier today. Struggling to reclaim this MA. This is just an hourly chart, so it's not a biggie, but let's look at the daily. Yeah, this was looking more bullish today. Hopefully the 1 day candle doesn't close like this. But long shorts do look kind of offsides, but overbought. This is your big level here at 142. Just scroll out a bit. This will refactor down a bit. Yeah, actually 144. My bad. But yeah, so this is kind of the pivot for this whole structure for me. If we can hold here, we can go higher. A lot depends on what Bitcoin does, I guess. Hey, 563. Hey, Burned Poop 69. Good to meet you. Cool handle. So basically, CPI low is potentially bearish because it could mean low demand. Yeah, but it's only just below what was expected. GM Manola. It's only just below, so it's not super bearish. Could mean low demand, but it could also mean the Fed is too tight. And if retail sales comes in showing there's demand, because that's your real demand indicator, then logically the Fed needs to ease. That's my thinking anyway. It does give the Fed the go-ahead to cut though if inflation is subsiding. Yeah, exactly. That's my thinking. Yeah, so we've looked at that. Looked at majors. Looked at the NASDAQ. Oh yeah, ARB still looking super strong. Up 5% today. Beautiful. I'm long ARB. This is kind of a level here. This is the 200-day moving average, which we've just claimed again today. It's been pretty choppy, but if you zoom out, this whole trade for me is based on the monthly chart, so I'm giving this a lot of time to develop. And the more you zoom out, the better it looks. Let's just get rid of this MA because there we go. So yeah, this whole trade for me is just based on a simple MA cross, 1020 MA cross on the monthly, and fundamentals essentially. So this cross bullish in January, price hasn't moved a whole lot since then, but it's consistently sitting the last 3 months on top of this top MA and on top of this high time frame red line supports. Super bullish. And then all the fundamental stuff that's happening on ARB, basically the fee switch, a bunch of other new developments you can go and look up. Pretty much they are they're putting on a show for TradFi is what they're doing. And it's the kind of show that if you're an ETH maxi that you should appreciate because it's exactly what you need. You need TradFi to come in and actually start using your magic internet money Legos, using ETH, for the purpose that it was designed for, to be a new financial system. That is the most bullish scenario. I don't really give a shit about the ETFs. Sure, it shows demand if people start buying the ETFs in size. So far, they haven't. Obviously, there's been a lot of selling from Grayscale, But what you really want to see is for TradFi to start using a new financial system. That is your secular bull tide signal, in my opinion. And Aave being the most lindy, one of the most lindy DeFi 1.0 protocols, doing their utmost to court these new users. That's exactly what you want to see. So I'm going to hold this long for as long as I need to for it to go back to all-time highs and beyond, provided we don't get a bear market. But yeah. Yeah, and then just looking at ton, interesting to see the recovery on ton. I was super bullish over here. I thought we were going to new highs, but correction just continued in majors, leading to this further altcoin sell-off. But this is a daily chart, so you can see how we rode the 200-day moving average back here in Jan-Feb, down at $2. And we just tested again successfully, proving this bull trend's still intact. Reclaiming this point of control is still a level here to get above at 740-ish, 730. Above there, this looks pretty good to go into new highs. This is the roadmap to $30, which is my kind of long-term bull target for the cycle. So this looks decent. All this volume on the retest shows how well this was defended. Yeah, I mean, bullish ton fundamentally as well. Super interesting protocol. C# based blockchain. Interesting founder, Russian exile dude, Pavel somebody or other, living in Dubai. And potentially like 100 million users or something crazy. So if they can make something usable out of this thing and get some product market fit going, super interesting. Another uptrend, I'd be looking for this kind of behavior again, where pump consolidates in this upwards sort of rising sort of wedge pattern. Yeah, looks good. And then there's this curve. We put this in the newsletter. I don't want to lie and say, was it yesterday or it was the day before yesterday, I think. Yeah, day before yesterday. So again, there's some fundamentals driving this, in that they have this 4-year lockup, which people locked themselves into at the end of last cycle, at which point it was probably 6 or 7 years or something insane. But apparently, since this big liquidation event, it was that was around here, where the Russian dude who founded the protocol took out a giant loan to buy himself a swanky mansion, couldn't fucking pay it back, and got liquidated, which is obviously kind of bearish capitulation event. Since then, we've reclaimed that level. Apparently, people are doing this 4-year lockup. Hickson wrote on it in the newsletter 2 days ago. If you want to go check that out in DJ and Corner, it's worth a read. I don't want to try and recount it here and fuck it up, but go and read Hickson's words from the horse's mouth if you want the fundamental play-by-play analysis. But yeah, this looks good. Reclaim this point of control, pump through the downtrend, probably going to consolidate here a little bit. Is that the 200-day moving averages up here? Still quite a way off, 46 cents. The highs are miles away, like last cycle highs. If I zoom out to the weekly, like all the way up at $6. So, you know, this thing can, even if we just get up here, it's like a 2.5x. I'm long this as well. Looks decent. Oh yeah, it's also being shilled by giant accounts on Twitter. Cold-blooded Shiller and Credible Crypto is the other guy. Not a huge fan of his, but between the two of them, they've got like 1 million followers or something. So that's got to count for something. Yeah, so moving on. This is Ether, deep in play on Ethereum. I don't want to piss off 563 by saying it's similar to IO.net. My tiny fundamentals brain, that's how I think about it. So you had this long ass downtrend. I was watching this the other day, pump through it, and I missed this big pump. I didn't look at it yesterday. I was out in the bush with a broken Starlink, and I missed all of this. But huge wick to the upside. But what's interesting to me is that you have this point of control here at 70 cents, basically, which lines up perfectly with the 0.618 retracement on this whole pump. So if this holds, this could be quite a good entry. Probably need to give it a few days to see if that is the case. But yeah, it looks promising. Yeah, I mean, you had this long downtrend and then this kind of Adam and Eve bottom. So technically this looks really good. This is the VWAP. Above here, weekly close above here will look good. Something to watch. And then, yeah, just some Politify stuff. I'm not really in any of these coins anymore, but then I've seen quite a lot of discussion on Discord about which ones to buy. Given that Kamala is obviously now the de facto Democrat candidate, that's not going to change at this point, I would think. Yeah, this is the best looking one of the bunch. It's just so diluted is the main issue. There's so many of these coins now, which to me is not bullish. And this actually looks like it could roll over. So this is full screen, this thing. And I bet the stock is rolling over. Let's get that up. Not quite yet, but it looks a bit iffy. I don't know. I'm not totally convinced by the Politify meta anymore. They do still have long-term Trump and MAGA bags, just on the assumption that Trump is probably going to win. And I know that's now not the consensus opinion. I still think he's got a good chance. I'm not a fan of his. It's just what I think might happen. Oh yeah, and then this is Billy. We actually put Billy in the newsletter today because this chart looks like it has good potential. So this dude is Mitch, who is, I assume, some kind of cabal member, Retardio market maker or something, or OG or big holder. Dan often says Mitch is doing this, Mitch is doing that. Shilling Billy, and the charts, when I looked at it, I saw in Grant's Mill Deal channel that he bought some, I think he bought some Billy this morning, and Dan did the same. This daily candle yesterday looked decent. This high time frame support's holding up. MACD is trying to flip bullish. When you get this crossover, that'll be more of a confirmation. Stochastic RSI is curling upwards. RSI has made this double bottom while price has moved lower. So that's essentially a bull div. This daily candle sold off somewhat since I bought earlier this morning. So I'm probably underwater now. But yeah, it looks decent. If we can hold around this level, let's see. I'll have a look at it again. Look at it again in the morning. Running out of juice here. I might have to move inside. Jajak, again, this looked good earlier today, but I see, okay, we're pumped up here again. So yeah, that was kind of a big move from 1,000. That's like a 40% move. This is quite a small cap now, sub 1 million. I bought this on Saturday for a weekend pump and got out over here. I think Grant bought some more of this morning. This resistance here obviously is the issue at the moment. I don't really like this lower high, but let's see what happens. I don't actually own this at the moment, but I think Grant probably bought down here this morning. It's a funny meme. This minion dude with a little chode is popping up all over Twitter. So good viral potential, I guess. Let's wait and see what happens. Oh yeah, and there's just some interesting content on ordinals. I've been trying to dig up new projects, and I found a new ordinals training platform. And then I looked who was following it, and it was some interesting people like Eric Wall. Interesting because obviously we have runes now, but people seem to be coalescing around ordinals again. This is a very recent Twitter post from August the 8th. Just breaking everything down, why ordinals are potentially a longer term, higher market cap play than NFTs because they're inscribed on the blockchain. They're more permanent than your typical Ethereum NFT, which is basically just a file reference to, a file system that's not actually on chain. Just quite a long form post. Found that quite interesting. Go and have a read of that if you're interested. Arthur Hayes retweeted it. It's obviously long ordinals. And then just new content from Blockmates today that I thought was pretty cool. Idiot's Guide to Chain Abstraction. Super interesting meta to me, just because we have such a fragmented crypto ecosystem. Last cycle L1s were the play, and now we've got a bazillion fucking L1s. Everybody's taking the EVM and sticking it on Solana, and taking Solana and sticking it on Ethereum. Elephants making love to a pig all over the place, just so we can gamble on some new L1. What are you going to do about that? You've got to have chain abstraction if you want to onboard people into this fucked up, broken ecosystem. The only way to do it is to take away the painful state of play, so that people don't have to know what chain they're on, and their funds aren't isolated on Ethereum or isolated on Solana or one of the 73 different Ethereum L2s. Super important meta. Long chain abstraction, things like Layer 0, things like Tapioca DAO, anything that basically tries to remove, omni-chain stuff. None of it helps users. Normies don't give a fuck about all our different chains. They just want to do things. They just want to have fun, whether it's gambling or using DeFi or whatever. This is a good article. It's worth a read. I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, Gaz did a good job with this one. So Meatfish says the OG Ordinal projects I check on from time to time all still seem dead despite their efforts. Yeah, I mean, I like stuff like Quantum Cats. I don't own one because I'm not rich enough, but yeah, I don't know. Quantum Cats is interesting to me because they have measurable outcomes for success. They're obviously trying to get OpCat passed on Bitcoin. There's a cult-like following behind Udi and Eric, so you've got that community, and the artwork's pretty cool. So it's kind of a trifecta for me. I think we need the all-time high break to see ordinals come back. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. 563. Once you have that Bitcoin wealth effect kick in, that's when you're going to see a file that's underneath ordinals, maybe runes too, hopefully. Bejar started its now GDP and employment data to monitor to a less extent CPI now. Game changed apparently. We'll see in tomorrow's print. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'll check that out. Interesting. Yeah, apparently the retail sales data is the one to watch. Yeah, the tap chart looks decent actually. I was looking at it earlier today. Let's have a quick look at that before I run out of laptop juice. I look like 7% here. Let's have a look. Move that. Yeah, Tapioca looks like it's trying to reverse at this point. Tap token. Okay, now it's dumping again. It looked decent earlier today. We had some wick on yesterday's daily, some buyback. I mean, I guess this is just really before launch. These movements are largely probably driven by A, impatience around the fact that they haven't launched yet, and B, majors chop. So that's what your two main price factors are going to be. But if you think this thing is going to work, which I suspect it will, then these are probably good levels to be accumulating. Just buy slowly when it's oversold. For that, I would look at maybe a lower time frame, like maybe even the 1 hour. You can look at RSI to see over here, pretty oversold. If this comes down here, it could dump through this support, be oversold. Just buy a little bit when it's oversold. It's the way to do it, probably. Testnet should be in 2 days or so. If fine, then that will last a week, then relaunch. Okay, nice. Yeah, that'd be cool to see. It'd be nice to see them finally go live. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. I'm running out of juice, so I'm going to cut it here. I'll be fully charged tomorrow. Maybe we can run a bit longer. Is there anything anyone wants to look at before I cut it? I'm on 5%. Okay, I better cut it. Thanks, dudes. Talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good one.